when you're in a sales situation, you talk about reading the room or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a natural thing. And if you're getting nervous, in my opinion, and you're in a sales situation, and you're getting nervous because you're in a situation you've never been in before or whatever's happening, my suggestion is to let them know. I'm sorry, I've never been in this position before, and I'm really nervous. I haven't talked about numbers this large or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So, kid gloves on me, please.
That's nice.
And I would say just be total forthright and honest. And I think while you think you might be putting yourself at a disadvantage by being vulnerable like that and being honest, I think the other person, the parental or that type of, those emotions, those, I guess, physiological, reactions that somebody will almost want to take them under your wing and you want to help them overpower you being, I think it makes you more credible than less. Pretend we're not on, that it's not a show. Pretend we're not teaching. We're just talking.
Well, that's what we've always done.
No, because, I go into pitch mode. You go into pitch mode. None of pitch mode. Real stuff.
I've never gone into pitch mode.
Oh, come on. Your whole facial expression changes.
In pitch mode?
Yeah. That's how you know someone's in pitch mode. Their voice goes down. Their cadence changes. You get in that hole, and you realize it. In fact, are we live?
I don't know if
this is good stuff.
I don't know if I have ever really gone into pitch mode. Oh my gosh.
So you're telling me that when you're in a sales situation and somebody's actually presenting to you, you don't see...
Presenting to me?
Yeah. Someone's presenting. You can't immediately tell when they move into pitch mode?
Yes, I can tell that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm a little bit more stealth than that.
Oh, do you?
I do.
Have you ever done it in front of a mirror? You absolutely change.
Have I done?
I'm sure I do it too.
Of course, I've done it in front of a mirror, and I've even practiced my facial expressions in front of a mirror. Yes.
Okay, it's too much.
You say, what do you mean it's too much?
But you see, you're acting.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
That was my actual impression.
That's the biggest bunch of garbage I've ever.
Garbage.
No, it's true. No, your face. You get down. You get deeper.
You hurt my feeling. My one feeling that I have left.
I'm trying to improve each other.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. And I don't know if it's an improvement or not.
Right.
But the way to do a good podcast.
Yeah.
And the way to do a good presentation, in my humble opinion, is to be totally transparent and open, honest to a fault, all the warts and everything.
Now, I will say that works for you, and I'll say that works for you.
Did you hear Isaac over there? He actually said
there are a lot of people that don't have that same behavior that you have. And we talk about it in DISC. We talk about the D, the I, the S, the C. Because you're a raging I, off the chart I, all right?
Which means what?
Which means you walk into the room, you like the spotlight, you like to be, the center of attention. You're boisterous. You connect with people quickly, and you have the very outgoing personality. All of those are I traits. Okay, so I'm with you on that.
All right.
If you're not that person, if that's not who you are in your identity, and you have to be some of that in your role when you're a salesperson,
right?
Then you have to fake it till you make it.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Oh, okay. All right. So you're saying that there is some acting involved,
of course.
Right, but I don't think that is. I think hiding that you're acting it is the part that I see when people's. I used to have a friend.
Okay,
I may have told you about this. My guy.
First of all, I know that's not a true story now. When you said that you used to have a friend, because I don't believe that in a second.
Well, he used to be a friend, but he doesn't talk to me anymore, so he's not necessarily a friend. But. A big, successful, really great guy, owned 300 gas stations.
Okay.
And he wanted to own the gas stations, not because he liked owning gas stations, but he was also the distributor of the oil. So what he would do is he'd find somebody's gas station, he'd buy it, and then fix it up, then sell it, but he kept the contract to the oil contract, you know. So he was distributing. It's a jobber. He was very, very good with that. And a lot of times he'd be buying these gas stations from people, and it was their business, it's their life and everything. And, you know, he gave them a number, and the way he knew that the number was right is by the way they reacted when he handed him, when they handed him the number. So I just had peanut butter. Yeah. Like, I was hungry, I needed something, so they had those little shakers of peanut butter.
Well, for our one listener out there, it sounded like you had it again.
So there's like, there's that one. I'm going to cough now. All right. So.
This is a COVID-free environment, by the way.
By the way, we don't use that word here.
That's a swear word.
It's by far
it's a 5-letter swear word.
The virus that shall not be named.
5-letter swear word.
If you want to say China virus, that's fine. But aside from that, it's the virus that shall not be named. So this guy, he would hand them, and he would say when he gave him a number that he knew was life-changing for them, he said it was easy to spot because their bottom lip would quiver. It would just move uncontrollably. I mean, that's how, when you're in your emotional environment, that's how your body kind of can take over without you know. I mean, you couldn't try to quiver your bottom lip without your finger. You can't do it.
I don't know.
I mean, it's like impossible to do
without my finger.
Yeah, without your finger. Make it do that without your finger. You can't do it.
No, I can't.
Right. But your body can make that happen. So when you're in a sales situation, you talk about reading the room or what have you. I mean, it's a natural thing. And if you're getting nervous, in my opinion, you're in a sales situation, and you're getting nervous because you're in a situation you've never been in before or whatever's happening, my suggestion is to let them know. I'm sorry, I've never been in this position before, and I'm really nervous. I haven't talked about numbers this large or whatever the case may be. Yeah. So, kid gloves on me, please.
Yes, yes.
And I would say just be total forthright and honest. And I think while you think you might be putting yourself at a disadvantage by being vulnerable like that and being honest, I think the other person, the parental or that type of those emotions, those I guess physiological reactions that somebody will almost want to take them under your wing and you want to help them overpower you being I think it makes you more credible than less.
I think you're right, and let me tell you why I think you're right, because I've seen you do it in action. And
you've seen my lip quiver in action.
I've seen you right, just what you just said. So I'll share this, that we're doing a project for a client of ours, and you're making calls on their behalf, right? And you're engaging with what we would consider our prospect, right? And so I've heard you do it, and the struggle, whether it's real or not, and I think that it is, the struggle is real. And it sounds that way. Like I even on one of your calls when I was in the office with you about a week ago, I remember sitting, we have 2 desks in there. I was sitting at one of the desks, and I actually closed my eyes and I was just listening, pretending that I was actually the prospect and that you were talking to me. And I could hear the struggle. I could hear the transparency. I could hear that. And I could also tell, even though I couldn't hear the other side of the conversation, I could also tell that you were garnering more information than I would have ever thought you were going to get from that prospect. Like, I was amazed of how much information that you were obtaining from that individual. And I think that vulnerability that you talk about also, if you can do it, I call it the Columbo, right? Asking questions, fumbling around, That
was a great show.
It was a great show, right? And if you haven't gone to YouTube and just watch a 45 minute episode of Columbo, and you really want to know what it looks like to struggle on purpose, and someone that was playing that role and was doing it like perfectly, where it just seemed to come naturally to Peter Falk.
Yeah.
It just came naturally to him, and that's what it reminded me of. Because I really believe that if you can master that, or you make that part of who you are, and not fake it,
that's right.
then you are destined to get more information from your prospect than you would have ever thought.
And that's a tough thing to learn, to be vulnerable. And I was with a lot of professional speakers at one time in my life, when people used to actually get out and speak in public. And there are people who, they always tell you, have a good story and tell your story and all that stuff. But it was the people that screwed up the story who really got people, who were, there's a weird thing in the speaking business that, always somebody is worse off than you and overcame more challenges than you. Someone there with no arms and no legs, and they're giving a speech of how they overcome. And there's people in the audience think, oh, if I only had, I wish I could only have that problem and I'd be a better speaker because I have a better story. But, those it's that much. You want to be that vulnerable, and you want to be able to overcome it. But it's a tough thing to do because we're taught, hide that stuff.
Right.
You'll look weaker.
Yeah, that's right.
You've even said that to me.
That's right.
When we've been in positions, if you're in a position that you've never been in before, that it's bigger dollars that you've ever been before, you would say, act like you've been there.
Yeah.
Act like it's nothing, like it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Right. And there's something to that. And I can do that now because really money doesn't mean much to me anymore.
So I was on a call yesterday.
Yeah.
It's funny you should say that. But I was on a call yesterday, and...
Not because I have so much of it. It's just because money just doesn't mean much to me anymore. I don't know.
Right. But again, proving your point
Yeah.
on this. I was on a call yesterday, and I was talking with one of our clients that's looking to extend their contract with us, okay? And so I'm in conversation, and we're talking about it. And I know you don't like this. I know you don't like the saying, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. I've said that before, and you're like, I don't like that. Like, I don't get it, whatever. But in this case, it kind of fit the situation, right? And so, but I couldn't think of the phrase, like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And I couldn't think of it. So then I made some stuff up,
Okay.
MSU, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, yeah, so when you take the fruit and you squeeze it and there's not enough juice, that's the situation that we're in right now, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, Mr. and Mrs. Client. And there was a big pause, and she said to me, you're going to have to explain that to me because I don't understand it. And I was like, well, in full disclosure, I forgot the saying. So I made it up.
That's good.
And I said, so I made it up. And it doesn't sound anything like the real saying is supposed to sound. She goes, well, what is the real saying? And I go, okay, hold on. And I Googled it. And I was like, the juice isn't worth the squeeze. And she goes, now I get it. She goes, you know what she said to me?
What?
She goes, thanks for being honest.
Thanks for being honest.
Right.
That's all we want. I mean,
Right.
that's all anybody wants. Anybody even watching this thing, that's all they want. They want to be.
Yeah.
I had a guy used to fix our cars.
Mm-hmm.
He retired, and it was like the worst thing that could ever. Like, what do you mean you're retired? What do you mean you're selling? You're not allowed to sell. Who else am I going to go to? And we would go to this guy for many years. Not that he was the best price or anything. It was just a guy that you were kind of sure you weren't getting ripped off.
Yeah.
I just want a guy that I could send my kids to that I know they're not going to get ripped off.
Right.
That's all we want.
Mm-hmm.
Just someone to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't always work. Sales don't always work, and sometimes you kind of get here. Perfect. I got another Isaac. Another example.
Would you stop bringing him into the...
No, he's a big part of. He's a big part of
the
our
show.
lives.
All right. One of these days, we're going to turn one of these cameras around.
I
and
know.
put
I don't
Isaac
know
on.
why. Isaac wanted to come on the show. He's too chicken. He's got a face for radio. He does. Okay, so we
Wow.
So what was I talking about? And I was
you got
just
another
I was
example.
just on the phone earlier,
Yes.
and I was calling somebody in that same project that you were talking about.
Yes.
And he said, "How'd you get my number?" So I said, first, how I really got his number, it was on a list that, someone did research and we found his number. How'd I get your number? I said, from your website. Everybody's got their number on the website. And he goes, "That's funny because my cell phone isn't on my website." This is how so he's there. And I said to him, "Listen, I totally understand. I'm just a voice over the phone. And if you don't want to give me any information, I got it. It doesn't make a difference. I probably do the same thing as you. But this is 2020. Your cell phone's on the website. I mean, your cell phone's on the internet somewhere. I mean," and he goes, "I guess you're right." And then we move on from there.
There you go.
But I mean, and that was all it is. But you had to soften it up first.
Right.
And that's, I mean, if there's any skill that salespeople kind of need to master, it's to soften them up.
Right.
Even on any objection. The first rule that I always teach people on objections is always agree. Cost too much. Got it. Listen, if I'm you, I'm saying the same thing. What's another objection? We worked with you before and you guys are horrible. Believe me, I know. I got it. You're right. Everything's perfect. And then you could always lead into something. You're ugly. Got it. Listen, my mother says the same thing. Everything. I'm perfect with you. But let me ask you this.
Right.
And let me ask you this. Now you're leading into, now you can overcome the objection. But if you say, "Hey, you're ugly," and you say, "Hey, what do you mean I'm ugly? Let me ask you this," you're already fighting. You're on the opposite side. So if you can soften it up, if you could first, you just always agree. And, not giving you an objection is an objection. Mm-hmm. And so you could say, so you soften that up too. Listen, I understand, but and that's what I said. I realize I'm just a voice over the phone. I probably wouldn't trust me either.
Right.
Even though he didn't say I don't trust you, by not saying something, that was his objection. I don't trust you.
Right.
Which you can't blame him. I mean, I'm just now. If he saw me in person, he'd immediately trust me because I'm a very trustworthy face.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I read something the other day that said, the silence is the most impactful objection that you'll ever hear, because if they're not saying something, they're actually saying something very loudly. You're just not hearing it.
Yeah, it's the unexpressed objection, which is the killer for most salespeople.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is a killer.
Yeah. So how do you overcome that? How do you overcome a lot of people are dealing with customers that just kind of ghost them and they go away and they disappear and they never actually say why.
Mm-hmm.
They just kind of go away.
Well,
how do you
after
avoid that?
beating myself up for hours on end, if that happens, because that means, we teach a very specific sales system, right? 7 steps. And in that 7-step process, you're uncovering a lot of information about your prospect, and you're digging for what's important to them and why, if there really isn't even a compelling reason for us to do business with them.
Oh, let me
for
stop
them
you,
to
though,
do business with
because,
us.
When you talk about digging,
Mm-hmm.
The challenge with people digging is you feel like you're being intrusive. You feel like you're being, listen, Mr. Salesman, who the heck are you to ask me? This is how I am.
Yeah.
Someone says, so, what's you hear the famous question, what keeps you up at night? Up yours. I mean, who the hell? I mean,
It's none of your
who the hell? It's true.
It's none of your business.
It's none of your business. What keeps me up at night? Who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I don't know anything. So when you ask people to dig, that's the fear that they're going to get me.
Yeah.
Who's going to be completely honest with them.
Yeah, but
what keeps me up at night?
Well, here's the thing, though. When I say dig, what I mean is asking questions. That's digging. That's the definition of digging.
So
me.
what's and because I've been caught, asking questions that are people, I'm from New Jersey, New York.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
A perfectly acceptable line is none of your business.
Yeah.
So how do you avoid the none of your business? when you're asking those questions? And have you ever had a situation like that?
I've never had a situation where they've said it's none of your business. I mean, I've had a situation where they've answered the question, but it was very surface. It was very kind of right at the top of the water surface level answer. And then I've had to dig into that and ask more questions to try to uncover it.
And so you never
But
had
I've never
people
really
nobody ever shut you down?
Not like that. I mean, I've had people shut me down. I've been hung up on a million times.
No, I mean like
but
in a sales call, too soon. I'm not ready to give you that yet. Who are you to ask?
Well, let me say it this way. If I have had that, or if I felt that, that pressure, that uncomfortability within the prospect.
The word is discomfort.
Discomfort.
Yeah.
Then I would say, if you don't feel like sharing that with me, and if I pick it up quickly, which I typically would, I think, but I say, if you don't feel like sharing that with me, it's okay, Dan. I know that maybe that's a tough topic.
All right. So I must be somewhat autistic because I don't see those social cues sometimes. And that's why, I work on it.
Yeah.
I work on it now, but I know a guy specifically, just a killer sales guy. Just always got a prettier girl than he deserved.
Right.
Not that he was ugly, but man, he shouldn't. That was just star power. And it was because he just had nothing fazed him, nothing hurt him. He just didn't catch the social cues that he would just keep on asking until eventually he won it. Are those the type of people that you work with? Have you ever seen anybody like that?
Oh yeah, I've seen those guys. Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Just
terrible to be around.
Relentless. But that's not my.
But see, that is when I'm talking about the sales business.
Right.
That is what the impression that people have on salespeople.
That's right.
And why they try to avoid the profession altogether.
And I agree. That's a different question though, because when you ask me if I've ever come up against that, then what I eventually get to is, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, if you're not willing to share this information with me, and we're not really able to find a connection with our services and what we do and what your need is currently, then we can part as friends. It's okay. No is okay.
Line. Yeah.
And so you're putting it back on them as, listen, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, I'm here to help you to try and fix your problem. But if you're not willing to share what that really looks like, then I can't do my job.
That makes it simple, doesn't it?
It makes it so easy. That's why I'm saying.
When did you figure that out?
About 15 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
A specific example?
15, 20 years. When I stopped featuring benefiting my prospects to death and puking all over them and just telling them how great, our product or service was, and hoping that I was throwing enough crap on the wall to make it stick, and just realizing that as long as I just make it all about them, then then my close ratio is gonna go way up.
Was there a specific example or something where you saw the light?
It was life changing when I went through sales training myself.
Oh, really?
Yeah, life changing.
Life changing.
Life changing.
Like not even just for sales, for your whole entire life.
Yep. Because before 15, 20 years ago, before I took this training, that now we use that as the foundation for what we do. Before I took that training, I was a terrible listener. I was that guy that you talked about. Yeah. And that just wouldn't even hear or pick up the social or verbal cues. I'd just keep plowing ahead. And had many people tell me, and I didn't understand.
How did that manifest in your life? Being that jerk that you were before.
Lots of failure.
Before you got sales.
A ton of failure. Yeah. It's how it manifested.
In life or just in business?
Yes.
Oh, really?
Is the answer.
So you're actually saying that being a better salesperson made you a better person.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. 100%.
Huh. Would other people say that, or is it just you saying it?
I think other people would say that, you know, and this is not me trying to break my arm to pat myself on the back or anything like that, or even our company, Sales Arbiter. I mean, we have had people in training that have come up to me and tears in their eyes and say, "You're changing my life." And I've had those that have, it's been almost too reflective for them. Like it's almost been too much for them to manage.
Really?
Yeah, it is. You know, I get emotional talking about it, but it really has a everlasting effect on those people that go through it, because I think the same
On everyone.
types of rules apply.
And everyone, even people that don't kind of accept it,
Right.
you know, because they can't,
Right.
because it is a lot of introspection. It's tough to say that you're wrong, especially if you're practicing something, you know, for 15 years.
Yeah, there's very few people, and I'll give you another compliment. This is the last one.
Well, I'm going to take it.
It's towards the end of the month, so this is the last one you're going to get. So there's very few people, Dan, that can actually go into a situation and say, I'm going, you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, I'm going to take something positive out of this. And I'm going to, even if I just take one thing, like we talk about the 1% rule, right? Be 1% better than you were yesterday. Just be 1% better than you were yesterday, you know, and try and do that. Then how long will it take you to change who you are, you know, if you really think that?
Oh,
And
it's exponential. That's Edmunds Deming.
Mhm.
That's the guy with the 1%.
1%.
Yeah.
So and I really believe that's the type of individual you are. Like, you went through the training and you said it was great. I mean, you really enjoyed it. You said you took a lot out of it. And that's coming from a 40-year, you know, sales professional, 50-year sales professional.
I had DJ's Country Deli.
Right.
I was, I guess, probably 19 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And very quickly I learned from the deli that you could sit around and wait for people to come in to get a buttered roll and a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. Or you could go out and get, you know, 75 cups of coffee and buttered rolls and all sorts of stuff with catering. And I said, man, the money in the deli is in the catering, you know? And so I would go out and do that. And it's terrifying. First going out, you're a young kid, you're knocking on doors, you don't know what you're talking about, you know, you're doing all this stuff. And so my dad, we had somebody come into the store, and I still see her face. She was selling the Dale Carnegie sales training course. And she came in, and my dad said, go ahead and buy it. And I go, how much is it? He goes, whatever it is. And it was $900. I paid $900 out of my pocket. And I took a Dale Carnegie sales training course. And like you, changed my life.
Yeah.
Totally different person. And I still read those books every month at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, it totally changed the whole kind of direction of your life. You know, and it's the Zig Ziglar. By the way, Zig Ziglar took a Dale Carnegie course.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so
was he in the same one with you?
Yeah, good old Zig.
He was sitting right next to you. You didn't even know it.
I won. You know, there was like they would have like a contest each week, and you know, you give me a little competition.
Yeah.
It was like terrible. So I won every single one of the competitions. You know, whatever it was. You know, the pitch competition, this and that.
Of course.
But they told that course did all sorts of feature and benefit when you got into presentation mode.
Sure did.
And it didn't work because of the feature and benefit. It worked because of the front end of it. Mm-hmm. And so I learned from that thing to go into a conversation trying to see if there's a fit. Mm-hmm. Nothing more.
Right.
See if you can be friends and that there's a fit. And not to get a customer. And that was the whole thing. Because if it wasn't a fit, they could still be a friend, but they weren't going to be a customer, and you walk right away.
There we go.
And so that's what we do there.
Well, that is a perfect way to end this segment. So you want to give our listeners, a little golden nugget before we say goodbye?
You're just going to throw a guy just like that?
Just like that. I'm going to toss it right back to you. Because you're the Deej.
I'll give you something.
Okay.
I was on a call today. Here's something. There are very few better ways to get somebody to listen to your next line. The purpose of a headline is to get someone to read the next line. And there are few better ways to ensure that they will be listening to your next line is if you create the amount of curiosity that they know they're going to feel good when they hear the next thing. So, for instance, if you're trying to get a referral from somebody, and let's say I'm trying to introduce myself to Isaac over here,
right?
And you know Isaac,
yeah, I do.
So I'm going to call Isaac,
but our audience doesn't know him.
Well, doesn't know Isaac?
No.
Well, so this is creating curiosity.
Okay,
for Isaac.
good.
They'll want to know Isaac from
right.
Liger
Yeah.
Partners. So I would call Isaac and I'd say, hey, Isaac, you don't know me, but my name's Dan, and I think we have a mutual friend in Cruz. And do you want to know what he said about you? It's something good, I promise.
There we go.
And there is no way
that
Isaac is going to hang up on me right now.
No way.
Completely impossible.
That's right.
And then I would say, he said you were probably about the nicest guy and very empathetic about causes that you think are important. Boom. Now he likes me because I just gave him a compliment.
Right.
Now you can go into it. So if you're meeting somebody for the first time, start with a compliment, figure out something good about them, and make sure they know about it.
I love it.